it's Heather Nichols, and I am excited to share a project that I created with the brand new 2019-2020 academic mini tear-off calendars that are available right now at Tailored Expressions. I had my daughter Hannah join me today, and we created these cute locker caddies for her and a few of her friends to put in their lockers for this school year. You get 10 of these cute little calendars in a set, and they go from August of this year all the way to July of next year, so covers the school year perfectly. We're going to use this little metal caddy we picked up at Target, and we're going to use the Create in Color background as part of the decoration that we're going to add to that little metal caddy. So I'm going to get this stamp all set up in my MISTI to stamp while Hannah trims off the tags off the caddies. I'm placing the stamp into my MISTI, closing the lid to pick it up, and then we're going to stamp with Versamark ink and emboss it on sugar cube cardstock. I'm using just a little bit of adhesive on the back of the sugar cube cardstock to hold it in place in my MISTI. Since the background stamp is large enough to cover the whole piece of cardstock, there isn't a place to add the magnet to hold everything in place like you normally would in your MISTI. I'm using a powder tool on the piece of sugar cube cardstock so that the embossing powder sticks to only where I want it, which is on the Versamark ink and not in other places. I'm inking up my stamp with Versamark ink, and then I'm going to close the lid of my MISTI to stamp the pencil design onto the sugar cube cardstock. I'll ink up my background stamp one more time with Versamark ink just to make sure I have a really nice crisp impression. Once everything is stamped, I'm going to add white embossing powder to the inked image, and then I'll heat it with my heat tool to melt the embossing powder and create the embossed effect. We have 2 more of these images to stamp and emboss. I'm going to have Hannah help me with the embossing, and then we'll move on to the next step. To add color to the embossed images, we're going to use the blender brushes along with blue raspberry, blue corn, and plum punch inks. I'm taking the blender brush and I'm going to pick up the ink color onto the brush using a circular motion and then add it right to my project. I'm using diagonal lines, but once we get started, you'll see that Hannah came up with a few of her own designs for blending as well. We decided to add some ink splatters over the blending, and so I'm using some blue corn liquid watercolor. I'm adding it just a few drops to a acrylic block, and then I'm going to use a water brush to pick up the liquid watercolor and then splatter it over my project by tapping the brush on my finger. Next, I'm measuring the front part of this caddy to see how I need to cut down my pencil design so that it fits right on the front of the caddy. Once I have the cardstock cut, I'm laying it on the caddy to see how it's going to look and planning out where I'm going to attach the little calendar. To attach the calendar to the caddy, I'm going to use a tape that has a little bit extra stick, like score tape or sticky tape that you can find in the Tailored Expressions store. Hannah wanted to add the "Love That" sentiment from the complimentary stamp set to the locker caddies. It's a phrase her and her friends use all the time. I'm stamping the "Love That" sentiment onto some Oreo cardstock using Versamark ink, and I'm going to emboss the sentiment in white embossing powder like we did the pencils for the other part of the project. I'm cutting out the Love That sentiments with this cute little round tag die that is a part of the Tag Stacklets 3 die collection. I held the die in place with a little bit of purple tape centered around the sentiment, and I'm running it through my die cut machine. These little caddies are just about finished. I'm going to use some burlap twine to tie the little Love That tags onto the white clip that's on the caddy. Hannah is super excited to give these to her friends, and I hope you enjoyed our little crafting project that we created together today. All of the supplies that you need to create this project are available at tailoredexpressions.com. Have a great day, everyone.